Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham Hotspur. Well, it's just getting worse, isn't it? Every time we have a little bit of hope that something could happen for us, things just go wrong, and unfortunately, other teams are jumping on their chances. So, disappointing 2-1 loss to Aston Villa. We were much the worst team throughout, apart from the opening of the game. I mean, I wanted to make a video last night, but I couldn't for two reasons. One, I was probably a bit more emotional than I normally am. So, I don't know what would have come out of my mouth yesterday. I was very angry. And two, which is lucky, I had football training at 8 o'clock. So I had to essentially get ready at half time and then shoot straight off. I was having to watch it in the car on the way. The final sort of 10 minutes of the game, I was having to watch them on the way. And it meant I didn't really enjoy myself at football training, to be honest. And most of the sports gear that I've got to wear at training just happens to be Tottenham stuff. So I turned up in a Tottenham shirt and someone was like, I don't even know why you're wearing that. And, it was just kind of embarrassing. As much as I love Tottenham, I genuinely felt embarrassed to wear the top because I just knew I was going to get mugged off by the other players. But it is what it is. So, structure of the video as usual. We'll talk through lineups, some bits about the game. Press conferences, we know there's not really much point in talking about them because Ryan Mason's very cagey, gives the same answers because there's not much he can talk about really. So to summarise everything really, we started well and it ended in disaster. A goal from Bergwijn, great goal. Reguilon with an own goal, Ollie Watkins with a goal for them. We had a chance to really push ourselves to stay in a shout for the Europa League, and we just sloppily threw the game away, and West Ham took advantage of their situation, so, we're sitting behind them. And the worst part of it all really is that it was in front of 10,000 fans that paid £60 a ticket. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, but I'm pretty sure you all are by now, seeing as it's been all over social media, it's been in the newspapers, £60 was the most expensive Premier League ticket going for these last games at home. Burnley at the opposite end of the scale were giving tickets away for free to their fans. Teams like Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United were all in the £30 to £35 bracket. I think there may have been some £25 tickets in there. Even Manchester City, I think their highest price ticket was £53, but their lowest ticket was below £30. And that is for the team that has run away with the league, spends ridiculous amounts of money every season, and is in a Champions League final. And they also beat us in the cup final. So this is a team that has had great success all season, and yet they still charge less for a ticket than we did. It's absolutely crazy. You knew the second it was £60 a ticket, it was just going to be one of those days that was a disaster, just to put more animosity against the club with all these stupid decisions that have been made this season. So we'll get into it with the lineup. So for us, Hugo Lloris in goal. The back four consisted of Tanguy. Can't even get it out of my mouth at the moment. So Japhet Tanganga, Toby Alderweireld, Eric Dyer, Sergio Reguilon. The midfield, Harry Winks next to Højbjerg. Further ahead of them, Sonny keeps his place out on the left with Steven Bergwijn, the surprise inclusion on the right wing. He comes in for Gareth Bale, who I did say in the build-up video that there was a possibility that he wouldn't start due to a bit of fatigue. So yeah, Bergwijn in there. Dele Alli maintains his place, and then Harry Kane, as usual, up top. Aston Villa, Martinez in goal, Konsa, Hauser, Mings and Target at the back, McGinn, Nakamba, Traore and Grealish making up the main bulk of the midfield, and then El Ghazi and Watkins further forward. Ollie Watkins is a player that last season I was hoping that we were going to sign as our backup striker, because we haven't been very successful with our backup strikers. I'm not really going to comment on Vinicius because I actually feel like the club have been a bit crap with him. He should have played more games. He showed that he's got an eye for goal. I know the minutes he's had in the Premier League, they haven't been long enough to really have impacts on the game. So I feel like he's been kind of unfairly treated, and Ryan Mason has just kept him completely out of it, which probably tells me he's been told that he's not going to be somebody that's coming back next season. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. The fact that he hasn't had enough game time, so we don't really know what he can do. And the other reason is the price tag. It's a lot for a player that's only really done it in Portugal, and that was for one season. So I think if we were to go in for him, it would have to be a massive cut price. And I actually think Wolves are looking at the possibility of signing him, and we know that Wolves have got a lot of connections within Portugal. They've got Portuguese players. They tend to sign players from the Portuguese league, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him back and doing well in the future. But yeah, they were the lineups. Now, before I actually go into the game, I'm just going to get the stats out of the way, so I'm switching the order up a bit. Possession, we had 60% to 60.8% to their 39.2. We had 10 shots, they had 20. We had 4 on target, they had 4 on target. 2 shots off target to their 9 off target. 4 block shots to 7 block shots. Passing percentage of accuracy was 83.8 for us and 80.4 for them. Clear-cut chances, we created 0 clear-cut chances to their 1. Corners, we had 4, they had 5. 2 offsides for us, 3 for them. We won 61.9% of our tackles, which is not good enough. However, they only won 50% of theirs. Aerial duels, this is one that I think that we should always dominate, as many of you will know that I've spoken about before. We only won 48% of the aerial duels. They won 52%. It's just not good enough. Absolutely shocking. Then saves, there was 3 apiece. I mean, that's worrying, isn't it? There are 10 shots in the whole game with only 4 on target. Wasn't great at all. But let's get into the game. With the 10,000 fans in the stadium, they were all G'd up and very much on the side of Ryan Mason and the players as the game begun. We started really brightly. And I thought, oh, this is going to be our day. 8 minutes in, Steven Bergwijn single-handedly smashes his way through the defence. So, I mean, what's happened here is he's fought really hard to win the ball. Looks like he's about to lose it, but uses his strength to keep the ball, bursts his way into the box and absolutely levers it with some right swaz into the top right-hand corner. Now, Bergwijn is never a player that really hits the ball lightly when he's in front of goal. He absolutely loves to lever the crap out of it. A lot of the time, it does go straight at the goalkeeper, which we've seen a few times even in this game. But this, it was just hit beautifully, straight into the back of the net. All him. All credit goes to him. I thought he did really well. And that gave us something to cheer about. And I thought, oh, this is going to be our day. And we kept the momentum going for a little bit, but not very long, because that man, Sergio Reguilon, had an absolute stinker. Absolute stinker. 20 minutes. So we've been ahead for 12 minutes. 20 minutes. Sergio Reguilon tries to clear the ball, completely slices it, and somehow manages, when he's side on, trying to kick it this way, ends up slicing it that way, the complete opposite direction to where he wants it to go, leaving Hugo Lloris with no chance. I mean, if that had been one of their players taking that, you would have said that is an absolute worldie, contender for goal of the season. But no, it just happened to be an own goal. And unfortunately for Reguilon, I mean, he's not been great recently anyway. He's been slightly better in the last game or two, but he's been pretty poor. And I think had Ben Davies been fit, he wouldn't have played all these games. So after that moment, he lost his head. He just did not recover from it at all. And the right move for me would have been to bring Doherty on that right-hand side and move Tanganga across to the left, because unfortunately the guy was just useless after that. And we saw that again. 39 minutes in, Reguilon out on the left trying to clear the ball. Failed to do so twice. And then the ball ends up spinning off into the box. Ollie Watkins latches onto it. Nice little tidy finish. And there we are, 2-1 down after starting so brightly in front of our fans when we need to win. Need to win. And honestly, we were woeful in that first half. We truly were. Like, there wasn't much involvement from Harry Kane and Son. They were both very, very quiet on the night. Very quiet. And it continued in the second half for them as well, really. So Ollie Watkins, scores that goal. And that was his 14th league goal of the season. And I think he's done tremendously well. I don't know why we didn't go in to sign him. I wanted to sign him. The same as now I would like to sign Ivan Toney. And I don't think that'll happen either. I've got a feeling he'll go to somebody else. But, congrats to Ollie Watkins. He's done really well. 14 Premier League goals now. He's scored in cup competitions. He's worked his way. Well, he's had an England call-up, hasn't he? So, will he go to the Euros, won't he? I hope he does. But, it's just a shame we couldn't get hold of him, because it's come back to haunt us. So, second half, in all fairness to the lads, we were creating more chances. I mean, we were certainly allowing them to create chances as well, but we did put the pressure on. But it was just too late. I've said many a time, you need to play for 90 minutes, especially with the kind of season we've had. We've conceded so many late goals, and if you don't play for the whole 90 minutes, you're going to get punished. And, it happened in that first 45. We got punished, but we came out better in the second half. Emi Martinez pretty much kept Villa in the game. He made some important saves, several of them, as we upped the ante. But despite that pressure, we did allow Villa into the game. They were creating chances. They created some fine chances. And they deserved the 3 points. Like, there's no getting away from it. But we made some substitutions. So we saw Winks finally come off on 74 minutes. I personally would have just taken him off at half-time. I don't understand why he's been playing. His confidence is not high enough to put into these last games of the season where we're desperate for wins. He hasn't played enough football. So he's not going to be fully sharp. I don't care how he's performing in training. In the games it showed he's not been fully sharp. And Tanguy and Ndombele comes on 74 minutes. But actually, just before that, Bergwijn was taken off for Gareth Bale. Now, I actually thought Bergwijn was one of our best players on the pitch. I mean, Dele was okay. He was just doing things a bit too slow, but off the ball he was trying to do stuff. He was just very slow on it. But Son and Kane had pretty much been anonymous throughout the game. So I don't understand why Sonny couldn't be taken off. I don't understand it. And then move Bergwijn over to the left. There was no reason why Bergwijn should have come off. He's young, he's fit. He'd scored a goal in this game, and that is the one thing I've been saying all season. He just needs to score that goal, and he'll come good. Like, loads of people have criticised him, saying we need to get rid of him. He's a very talented young man, and he's very highly rated within the club. He's got his chance. He's come in, and he done the job. And then gets taken off. I know we needed to change things, but Sonny had done nothing. So I would have taken him off. And there's this stupid thing that managers at this club feel like Sonny and Kane can't be taken off. Like, why the hell not? Sometimes subbing them is the right thing to do. It might light a fire up their backsides and get them working harder. So I think that was the wrong move. I mean, Bale actually made an impact. Bale and Tanguy and Ndombele did fairly well when they came on. They were actually two of our most bright players when they were on the pitch. I'm not saying they should have started, because Bale obviously wasn't fit enough to start. However, Tanguy Ndombele, he should be starting over Winks all day long. Lo Celso, I'm assuming he was on the bench because he was one of the tired players that Mason was talking about, because they said there was concerns over a few players, so I assume he was one of them. The other substitution we made was Tanganga came off for Doherty, but that wasn't down to Tanganga's performance. That was down to the fact that he picked up a knock. So at that point, take him off, straightforward replacement with Matt Doherty. But yeah, that was the game, to be honest. I'm not going to talk about the chances created because you would have seen the game. You know we created some, but all in all, there wasn't enough conviction. We just weren't good enough in the game. Post-match interviews, not great, to be honest. The press conference for Ryan Mason was only 5 minutes. And I think because he's been so reluctant to answer certain questions, he won't answer anything that's hypothetical. I think the journalists are now just sitting there thinking, well, I don't know what to ask him. There's not a lot you can say because, he surmised the performance. And the only other questions anyone wants the answer to is Harry Kane. But the other things they could have asked about would have been things that they wouldn't have known about, and this is what I'm going to lead on to now. So the fans that were in the stadium, they booed the players off at half-time, booed them off at full-time. A few of the players did go round clapping the fans, so like Harry Kane, Bale, Dele Alli, I think Son might have. I don't know who else, but yeah, they trudged down into the tunnel to go and have their little team talk. There was an announcement that came over the tannoy saying that the Spurs fans stay seated and wait because the players will come out shortly to do their lap of honour like they do every season on the last home game. And they were just waiting and nothing was happening. Then after, I'm sure someone said after about 20 minutes, there was an announcement come over the tannoy saying something along the lines of, like, we thank you for your support this season and have a safe journey home. Like, the fans that were in the stadium, they were still booing and stuff, and whilst they were waiting, there was a chant going round saying, £60, you're having a laugh, £60, you're having a laugh. So the fans were clearly annoyed. And they're already annoyed based on where they were sitting as well. So when you had a look around, if any of you saw on camera, and I actually mentioned it whilst the game was being played, the fact that the fans were actually put up a tier. They weren't down near the action at all. And speculation from some of the fans is the fact that they've done it for money, the club, because there's a lot of advertising all round there, which there has been the whole time there's been no fans. So they've filled it all out, the lower tier, with advertising and flags and banners and stuff. Some of it's not advertising, some of it's just genuinely nice things about Spurs. So yeah, the fans were put higher up, so they're already annoyed, and then they were booing. Then they're being made to wait when they've been told there's going to be a lap of honour, and then it's not happening, and they're told to have a safe journey home. But fans apparently were clashing with the stewards, and eventually, and I'm sure, is it George Akile or one of the guys that does social media and YouTube, he's got a channel for Tottenham, he was at the game and he done a little bit, he was joining in the chants of £60, you're having a laugh, but he was saying it's become Tottenham Hotspur Stadium FC because they care more about the stadium than they do the fans, than they do the team. But eventually, and I said I think he said they'd been there about an hour, the players finally came out. And that's absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. And then the other thing that you've got to look at is there's been images of Harry Kane circulating. He looked very disillusioned, very upset. Almost looked like there was tears in his eyes. His eyes were very red as he was walking around clapping. So a lot of people were assuming that was him saying goodbye, which I kind of thought at the time, like my heart sunk. I thought, you know what, this might genuinely be it. But we'll just quickly move on to something before I talk about Harry Kane. Man of the match was given to John McGinn. Very well deserved. I actually thought on the night he was absolutely fantastic. And some Spurs fans were saying, can we please sign this guy? Yeah, he had an incredible game. Jack Grealish as well, considering his injury. He came in and played more minutes than I thought he would. I thought he had an excellent game as well. Tyrone Mings was pretty good, and he'd been out injured as well. I thought they were a good outfit considering, again, like Leeds, they're a team that haven't got anything to play for. And normally these are the games you want coming into the end of the season. You don't want teams that have been relegated because there's no pressure on them, and players that haven't played a lot get some game time and they tend to do well. But yeah, Villa, they were pretty good. They did let us in several times and we just didn't take our chances. Shock horror. That's been the case towards the end of last season, certainly the whole of this season, apart from the few big victories that we had very, very early on in the season. But yeah, so John McGinn, I thought he was excellent, and Martinez obviously kept him in the game a few times. And what's happened now is we're going into the last game of the season. So we're sitting 7th now because West Ham won their game and re-leapfrogged us. Europa Conference League is what 7th will get us. So what needs to happen in this last game? We need to go to Leicester and win. That's already a hard ask in itself. But at the same time, we need West Ham to lose to Southampton. So it is genuinely down to the wire for us. And if we don't win this game, say we go to Leicester and we lose, Arsenal, if they win, will finish above us and we will get no European football at all. To think, over the Christmas period, we were sitting top of the league, right? That's this season. We were top of the league for a decent period of time. When we're on top of the league, it's normally for a couple of days or a week. We're up there for a decent chunk of time. We've completely capitulated, dropped out of the top 4. Now we've dropped out of the top 6, and we could potentially finish behind Arsenal when there was such a big gap. And for me, finishing above Arsenal hasn't been important for a while now because we've been much the better club, so we haven't had to think about it. But when you think that we were top of the league, then we threw away Champions League, we might throw away Europa League, and Arsenal could finish above us, and West Ham. Wow. That's a lot to happen in one season, isn't it? That is a lot to take. So, I don't know. I'm not confident at all going into this last game. I'm genuinely not. But let's end this on a brighter note. Okay. So today, I went on to Sky Sports News just to have a quick look at any updates before I did this video. Now, there's a video on there with Harry Kane and Gary Neville. So if you go onto Sky Sports News, you can find it. It literally comes up. You don't even have to put it on the football section. You go on Sky Sports News, it's the first thing that comes up. Click on it and have a watch. Or you can go to YouTube on Sky Sports Football, I believe. Or I think Gary Neville's own one or whatever, and watch it on there. But it's them two on a golf course having a chat. I don't know when the interview was actually done because I didn't have time to have a look. But obviously we've had the announcement apparently that Harry Kane wants to leave. Now, nothing's actually been said. But from this interview, I didn't get the vibe that he definitely wants to leave. So I'll surmise it. Like, it's not in any particular order of how it was said, but he's been at the club 16 years, or so he says, 16 years. He was asked about his relationship with the chairman because a lot of people perceive Daniel Levy as selfish and quite hard to deal with. Gary Neville himself actually said that he feels that he's, quite good and he has the club's best interests at heart all the time. So Harry Kane was essentially saying that they've got a good relationship. He's always treated him well, always treated him fairly. And for a guy that is a penny pincher, Harry Kane said that he's always rewarded him with new contracts. And he would have been well within his rights to turn around to Harry Kane and say, look, you're on a 5-year deal. you can stay on that money till your contract's up, and then we'll talk about a new contract and give you bigger money then. He hasn't. He's sometimes a couple of years into a contract and he's already been rewarded with a new one, to keep his money up. And the same's actually happened with Sonny. He's always been offered new contracts, the same as with Christian Eriksen. We are quite good, even though we don't pay top dollar, we are quite good at rewarding our players with new contracts when they up their levels. And the way someone like Harry Kane earns the same money as some of the other guys in the Premier League is because Daniel Levy, he will give them an okay weekly wage, but the rest of it is down to individual incentives. It's based on bonuses. So Harry Kane has very good bonus structures in there. So there'll probably be something to do with goals, obviously. Then he'll have stuff to do with his assists and where we finish in the league, whether we win any cups. He's got quite a intensive bonus structure in there. And that is clever in a sense, because you'd think these players want to be some of the top earners in the Premier League. And the way they can achieve that is by winning things. And you think, that's incentive, right? Apparently not, because the team have been so poor this season. But look, from this interview, I get the impression he hasn't actually made his mind up yet. Obviously he said it's frustrating to sit and watch the Champions League, see the other English clubs in there, not only see them there, but then performing well. You think about it, only 2 years ago, we were in a Champions League final, and how far we've fallen from grace. But yeah, he said it's frustrating watching these clubs play there. Like, he wants to be at the levels of Ronaldo and Messi. He wants to be scoring 50 plus goals a season. He said he wants to be winning trophies year in, year out. The only worrying thing he did say was that he never said he would stay at Tottenham for his whole career, but he then followed that straight up with, I never said that I would ever leave Tottenham Hotspur. So take from that what you will, but I will say he was very calm in this interview the whole way through. Very, very calm. There was no caginess. There was no stuttering. There was a couple of pauses, but they weren't worrying pauses. I think he was thinking of how he was actually going to word what he wanted to say. So yeah, it was one of them where like they both admitted Spurs were at a crossroads and there's time to have a rethink and a rebuild. But in terms of Harry Kane's future, look, he essentially was very honest and said there needs to be a conversation had between him and Daniel Levy. But he said communication's always been good with them. And as I said, I think in the build-up video, or it might have been the last match video, I was saying that we've hit a situation where Harry Kane's in the same position that Wayne Rooney was at Manchester United, when he was basically saying you either reinvest and the club moves forward, or I'm going to have to leave. Like, you need to match my ambition. And from that, Manchester United went out and they really put some effort in to try and match his ambition. And this could be the same thing here. But he said he doesn't want to get to the end of his career and have regrets. Look, at the end of the day, the reason why Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi have scored so many goals is because they've played for the best teams. I mean, Ronaldo had decent seasons at United, and I suppose we'll never know just how many goals he could have scored in a season had he stayed. But you look at a player like Aguero, and when Luis Suarez was in the Premier League, Thierry Henry, Ruud van Nistelrooy, these great strikers don't produce the same numbers that Ronaldo and Messi do each season. So that comes down to the fact that the Premier League is a lot tougher. So if Harry Kane wants to score the kind of numbers they're producing, he's going to have to go to somewhere like La Liga, where there is a massive gulf in terms of quality. Like in La Liga, I mean, this season we've seen teams beating teams that wouldn't normally, like we have in the Premier League, like teams being a lot higher up and more consistent because of the pandemic. But in a normal season, when you're in somewhere like La Liga or Liga 1 or the Italian league, you have these gulfs in class, massive gulfs. So you will see players producing massive numbers compared to the Premier League, because the defensive standard, the speed of the game, the quality of the players as a whole is better in the Premier League. Which is strange, because we end up not having people win the Ballon d'Or. And I genuinely think that is because the other players look better in their respective leagues because it's easier to score goals in those leagues for the top teams. So if Harry Kane wants to match those kind of numbers, he's going to have to move leagues. It's not going to happen in the Premier League. I do think if he goes Manchester City, he will score a crap ton of goals, but not the amount that he wants to. So yeah, it'll be a strange one to see what happens with him. But he actually said in there, the chairman may want to sell him. He said if he gets an offer of 100 million, then he might look at it and go, oh, that's nice, and get rid of him. And then Gary Neville was like, looking more at 200 million. But yeah, there are teams out there that can afford him. Man City certainly can. Manchester United can, but they would have to get rid of players or offer us players in exchange. Chelsea can afford him. I think he'd be fantastic at Liverpool, but I just don't think they've got the funds to do it. And I don't think they'd be willing to give players in part exchange, because Liverpool very much do rely on that whole squad mentality. I know they've had problems this season defensively and whatnot, but you got to look at them now. They've managed to fight their way back, and they could end up with Champions League football. And that's crazy considering where they're at. So yeah, I can't see Liverpool even being in talks whatsoever. But certainly those three. Real Madrid possibly. Barcelona can't, because financially they are screwed. PSG maybe, but would he want to go to France? I don't know. The league, it's just not great, is it, to be honest? The only club you're going to go to is PSG because of how close they've come in the Champions League over the last few seasons. So they're nearly there. So I don't know. Based on that interview, I'm not sure he's going to go. I think he knows that Daniel Levy's not going to want to sell him to a Premier League rival because of the financial climate at the moment, because of the pandemic. I think Harry might have accepted it's not going to happen this summer. It could be one of those situations where it's give us one more season. If we don't sort it out, you can go. But yeah, that's really the only positive I can take from everything that's happened over the last couple of days. That Harry Kane hasn't actually said he wants to go. He said the club's at a crossroads. He's at a crossroads. I think ideally he would want to stay at Tottenham and wants us to win things. So we will see. We've got one game left. One last chance to get at least Europa League football. And that's all dependent on West Spam cocking up against Southampton. I mean, thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really means a lot and helps this channel grow. Oh yeah, and just to mention, guys, a massive thank you to everyone. I spoke about the analysis of the Leeds game. That video I was saying was doing really well. So I said it started off at like 200 and something views within a couple of days. It then started creeping up. It hit the 500 mark. Within a week, we were sort of like at the 600-700 mark. And Tuesday, I had a look at it. Tuesday daytime, it hit 1,000 views. It is by far the most watched videos. So many Leeds fans have watched it. It'd be interesting to know whether the majority of the people watching it were Spurs fans or Leeds fans. Because, I mean, it was very Tottenham heavy, as it all is, because it's a Tottenham channel. It's very, very Tottenham heavy, what I talk about. There was bits on Leeds, and I've just had good feedback from Leeds fans saying they thought that I was fair, enjoyed the content of the things that I said. But yeah, that one passed 1,000 views, which is great, because this channel's only been going like a month and a half, nearly 2 months or whatever, properly. So yeah, it's fantastic. So I want to thank everyone that's been watching, but I need those subscribers for the channel to grow. I mean, the views, they mean something personally to me, but for the growth of the channel, unfortunately, the views don't mean a lot in terms of how YouTube will allow me to make this channel grow. So if we can hit that subscription button and smash the thumbs up, that'd be very much appreciated. So yeah, fingers crossed, all down to the last game. Can we get into the Europa League, or are we going to be stuck in the dreaded Europa Conference League, or even worse, are we going to be stuck behind Arsenal with no European football whatsoever? Have some comments below, guys. Let's get the conversation going. I will comment back to as many of you as I can. Stay safe, guys, as always. And remember, come on, you Spurs.